Hey, I'm Ben Avery. This is Strangers and Aliens, and I am here to answer the question, is it worth reading about Sarah L. Frantz's The Quickening, Overcomers Book 1. Hey there, I'm Ben Avery. I am a science fiction writer, a science fiction fan, and a science fiction reader. And I am also a Christian, and I like to ask the question about Christian books, is it worth reading? Now, as I've said before many times, when I am talking about a small press book that is fairly new, I'm probably not going to talk about it unless the answer is yes, it is worth reading. And so, spoiler alert, is it worth reading? Yes. Now, if this was something written by Dr. Timothy J. Schmidt from 1914, and I'm not as worried about saying no about that. And if it was something where I was like, oh, there's some real issues, this is very problematic for me as a reader, then I might consider talking about it and saying it's not worth reading. But for something like this, I'm not going to do a whole video saying this isn't worth reading, this wasn't worth my time, it won't be worth your time. I'm just not going to spend the time doing that because, truthfully, that's not fair to small press writers to do that. And a lot of work goes into creating books like this. And I also truly believe that there is a market and an audience for everything and everyone. And it might mean that only a couple dozen people are going to read your book, like this one, Ghost of the Future by me. Buy it now. It's on Amazon. Is it worth reading? Yes, I hope so. And a match. I need to remember to bring this shirt out when I talk about this. Or whether it means a book that is a bestseller with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of readers. I think there's an audience for everyone. I think that there is a place for everything. I believe that art has a purpose, and that your audience might be just your three friends who read your story and enjoyed it, or your mom who read your story and was very proud of you, or it might be 100 people read your book and someone sent you an email saying, it caused me to think about this in a different way, or it caused me to realize, yeah, I'm not alone. Whatever it might be, there's purpose. And so I'm not going to come on here and dog on someone who took the time to write and publish a novel. But if I like it, I'm going to talk about it. And just there's two similarities to the review that I did about Dawn of Destiny and this review that I'm about to do here. One is I'm going to compare it to This Present Darkness for different reasons, but I'm going to compare it. And the other is, I'm sorry I took so long to get to this. Okay, Sarah Frantz, she and I were involved in actually a writers group that was doing a kind of experimental way to market books that was put together by a friend. And so I did get her book because of that. And Sarah, sorry I took so long, but I am getting around to it now. The reason I didn't record about it was not because I didn't like it. It was because I didn't get to it. And now I have gotten to it. And I did enjoy it. I already said I'm going to compare this to This Present Darkness. What I would compare The Quickening to is This Present Darkness meets Ladyhawke meets That Hideous Strength. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the big things about this book that you'll notice right away is that there are two time periods in this book. One is in the distant past in England, and the other is in, I don't know if you would say the present day or the near future in England. They're connected together by a relic, an evil relic. And they're connected together by the spiritual warfare that is happening around this evil relic. And I don't want to get more into that than I did because I don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, it's not just that there's two different time periods where you're following this one character here and then you're following these characters here. That is a part of it, but they are connected by this evil relic, and the connection makes sense. And it actually does have a resolution as well, where it's more than just the same thing in two different time periods. I don't want to get too much further into it than that. But in that way, I would also say it reminded me of Possession. I can't remember the writer, but when I was in college, my English teacher said, "You should read this book, Possession." I really loved it, and I read it, and I really liked it. But it was two different time periods, and but yeah. So when I say This Present Darkness meets Lady Hawk meets That Hideous Strength, it's the past stuff that for some reason Lady Hawk was the thing that came to mind. Where, especially because it's young people, and they're on a journey. I'm not going to get too much more into it than that. But there's no one turning into a hawk and no one turning into a wolf and nothing like that. The This Present Darkness element is the spiritual warfare. And in the same way that This Present Darkness has spiritual warfare that would be a kind of metaphorical, allegorical, reality-based spiritual warfare, which I guess when you're saying metaphorical and allegorical, you're not really reality based, but it's the same kind of thing where it's showing you the spiritual warfare using fantasy imagery. With This Present Darkness, I more associate it with comic book imagery, but it is fantasy imagery for that too. But using fantasy imagery in a way that is meant to cause you to think about the spiritual warfare that actually is going on around us. And so, and it's insidious. Some of the stuff that she writes about in that stuff, I mean, it is awful in the right way. It's awful in the right way, in the same way that maybe Screw Tape Letters is. That Hideous Strength, what hit me from this, that caused me to think about that hideous strength, is that there is a lot of stuff going on in a English college. There is scientific stuff going on where people are studying, and but the spirituality and the scientific stuff, there is a blurring of lines in between them. And so there was some elements of this book where I was like, I'm kind of feeling that hideous strength vibe going on here. And so as it bounces between the two different time periods, that's kind of what I was thinking about, is that This Present Darkness, That Hideous Strength, and Lady Hawk. Or I don't know. I couldn't really think of medieval fantasy that hit the same kind of tone as what you got here. I will say again, I like the characters in this book, and I like the ideas that they're talking about. The spiritual warfare that's going on is much more front and center than in some other books, because it is, again, like that I keep pointing this way because that's where my copy of This Present Darkness is. So yeah, so if you do like This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness, then I think that you'll enjoy this quite a bit. And yeah, and if you like That Hideous Strength, I think there's also, or really any of C.S. Lewis's space trilogy, I think there's going to be things you like about this. One of the other things that I did appreciate about this book, and this kind of goes back into the insidiousness of the demonic characters here, is that and it got me thinking about it for myself, is they use people's weaknesses, and that's how they they find that weak spot. They kind of find that Achilles heel, and that's where they get able to get in and plant seeds and then expand from there and corrupt from there. And again, you're reading a fantasy, you're reading an adventure story, but as you're reading it, you're being given an allegorical picture of a real thing. And so that's something that got me thinking about. And something else I appreciated about Sarah's work here is she can turn a phrase, and there's some interesting and fun turns of phrases here. One that stuck out to me that I marked, like I want to read this when I do my review. She rolled over and picked a purple harebell. The flower was beautiful but delicate, like life. Like that's a beautiful little sentiment there. Another one, and this one's a little more, kind of that insidiousness of the bad guys, but Nahash roared in pleasure from his throne room. Word had come. The pursuit of Matthias's party was on. He licked his lips, anticipating the destruction of the creator's weak dust copies. I love that. The dust copies. And that's what we are. We're copies. He made us in his image, so we're dust copies. I like it. I like it a lot. So, is it worth reading? You already knew the answer. Yes, it is. And I recommend it. So go ahead, seek it out. And if you find it, if you read it, if you like it, tell Sarah I sent you. And yeah, Sarah, sorry I took so long. So until next time, I do want to say, don't forget, I have also written a book. It's called Ghosts of the Future. Check it out. It's on Amazon, Kindle, and in print. And coming soon, Timepieces, a triptych through time, 3 Tales of Time Travel by me, Ben Avery. So with all that said, until next time, thanks for spending time with me. Thanks for listening to me ramble about stuff that I like. And Godspeed.